Forbidden space was not empty. It was avoided across the galaxy. Star maps showed it as a dark region. No trade routes crossed it. No patrol ships entered it. No signals came out of it. Every civilization knew the rule: do not go there. Ancient records spoke of ships that vanished, of fleets that entered and were never seen again. No wreckage, no distress calls, just silence over time. The galaxy learned to live with fear. Forbidden space became a place of stories, a warning told to young pilots, a rule never questioned until the day it was. At a distant monitoring station, long-range sensors detected something impossible. A sudden spike in energy inside forbidden space. Not an explosion, not a storm, but a controlled arrival. The data repeated again and again. A single object had appeared. Operators stared at their screens in confusion. Nothing was supposed to survive there. Nothing was supposed to arrive there. Then the ship's signature became clear. It was human. The signal spread faster than light through secured channels. A human warship had materialized deep inside forbidden space. No warning had been sent. No permission asked. Across the galaxy, command centers fell silent. Leaders stopped speaking. Advisors stopped arguing. Humans were dangerous not because they were the strongest, but because they ignored rules that kept others alive. The warship did not move. It did not fire weapons. It did not raise shields. It simply waited. Scanners tried to read it. Most failed instantly. Those that worked showed strange results. The ship was calm, its systems stable, its power levels balanced. It behaved as if forbidden space was just another empty sector. Alien commanders felt fear rise slowly. This was worse than panic. Panic could be managed. Silence could not. Forbidden space responded. Energy patterns shifted. A dark region, twisted in ways no one could explain. The ancient force that lived there noticed the intrusion. Normally, this was the moment when ships vanished. But the human warship remained. Observers watched, holding their breath. Waiting for destruction, it never came. Inside the human warship, the crew stayed calm. No shouting, no rushing, no celebration. The captain watched the readings carefully. Forbidden space was reacting, testing, probing. Human systems adapted in real time. Shields adjusted, sensors recalibrated. The ship learned with every second. This was not bravery. This was preparation. The galaxy realized something terrifying. Humans had not stumbled into forbidden space. They had chosen it. Ancient species reviewed their oldest records. Searching for any mention of humans in this place, they found none, which meant one thing. Humans were doing something no one had ever done before. Minutes passed, then hours. The warship remained unbroken, unmoved. Forbidden space did not reject it. It observed it. Whispers spread through galactic networks. If the humans survived, if they learned something, then every balance of power would change, because forbidden space was not just dangerous. It was forbidden for a reason. Whatever lived there was older than empires, stronger than fleets, patient beyond understanding, and now it was awake, finally. The human warship sent a message, not loud, not threatening, just simple. We have entered, we are stable. We are observing, no challenge, no fear. The galaxy did not respond. No one knew what to say, because in that moment, everyone understood the truth. The galaxy was not afraid of the ship. It was afraid of what humans were about to learn inside forbidden space. And as the warship slowly moved deeper into the darkness, the ancient force followed, curious for the first time in its long existence. The rules had been broken, and the universe was watching. The message from forbidden space spread across the galaxy. A human warship was alive, stable, and moving. For a long moment, no one reacted. Then panic began. Galactic councils called emergency sessions. Ancient empires opened sealed archives. Military fleets were placed on silent alert. Forbidden space was not just dangerous. It was a boundary, a line that kept something contained. Now humans were inside it. Screens across command centers showed the same image. A single human warship surrounded by darkness. No escorts, no backup. Some leaders demanded immediate action. Others warned that interference could make things worse. No one agreed, because no one understood what humans were doing. Alien analysts studied the ship closely. Its weapons remained inactive. Its shields shifted in strange patterns. Not defensive, adaptive. This confused everyone. Most species built ships to resist threats. Humans built ships to change as minutes passed. Strange effects spread outward from forbidden space. Navigation systems glitched. Star charts adjusted themselves. Time signals drifted slightly out of sync. The ancient force was reacting normally. This reaction ended with destruction. But the human ship did not vanish. It adjusted, it learned. Fear deepened. A senior counselor spoke what many were thinking. If the humans survive, they will understand what we never could. That thought terrified the galaxy. Forbidden space was powerful, not because it attacked, but because it erased. Entire civilizations had been reduced to stories because of it. Now humans were touching it. Military fleets gathered at a safe distance. Not to attack, but to watch. No one wanted to be close if something went wrong. Inside forbidden space, the warship changed course slightly. A small movement, but enough to send shockwaves through observers. The ship was not drifting. It was navigating. This meant one thing. Human sensors were working. The ancient force responded again. Energy spikes rippled through the dark region. Invisible pressure pressed against the ship. Human systems reacted instantly. Power rerouted, fields reshaped, the ship held. Alien commanders watched in disbelief. This should not be possible. A race older than many empires reviewed the data quietly. They remembered something important. Humans were unpredictable. They did not follow patterns. They did not repeat mistakes the same way. They learned too fast. The panic reached its peak when the warship transmitted again. A short, calm update. Environmental pressure increasing. Adjustments successful. No fear, no urgency, just confidence. That confidence frightened the galaxy more than any weapon. Some civilizations began evacuating nearby systems. Others shut down long-range gates. Trade stopped, travel slowed, the galaxy held its breath. Forbidden space pulsed again, stronger this time, as if testing limits. The human warship slowed, not because it was forced to, but because the crew chose to observe. They were not rushing, they were studying. This behavior confused the ancient force. It had destroyed species that attacked. It had erased those that fled, but humans did neither. They stayed, inside the ship. The crew noted changes in reality itself. Distances bent slightly. Energy behaved differently. Instead of resisting, human systems copied the behavior. The ship was evolving. Observers across the galaxy began to understand the danger. Humans were not just surviving forbidden space. They were learning its rules. A quiet fear replaced panic. Because once rules are known, they can be used. The warship sent one final transmission, directed at no one in particular. We are proceeding deeper. Data is stable. No threat. No promise, just fact. The councils fell silent. Because everyone knew what came next. If humans returned, they would return changed. And if they did not, the galaxy would still be changed forever. As the warship moved deeper into forbidden space, the ancient force followed closely, no longer hostile, but curious. For the first time in countless ages, forbidden space was not just feared. It was being understood, and the galaxy waited, afraid not of destruction, but of discovery. As the human warship moved deeper, forbidden space began to change. The darkness was no longer empty. It reacted. Like a vast ocean disturbed by a single ship. Sensors detected movement, not ships, not energy storms, but patterns ancient, slow, watching. Inside the warship, the crew studied the data in silence. No one panicked, no one spoke loudly. The captain understood something important. Forbidden space was not a location, it was a system. Reality here followed different rules. Distances bent, time slowed slightly, energy behaved like liquid. Human technology did not fight these changes. It adjusted. Across the galaxy, observers saw new readings. The ship was not being crushed, not erased. It was synchronizing. That terrified them long ago. Ancient civilizations had tried to map forbidden space. Their ships vanished before data could return. They believed something lived there, something aware. Now humans were confirming it. Deep inside forbidden space, a presence stirred, not waking, but noticing. The warship's lights dimmed slightly, not from damage, but from pressure. Crew members felt it, a weight on their thoughts. Not pain, but attention. The presence did not speak. It did not attack, it observed. Human sensors struggled to define it. No shape, no mass, no clear energy signature, only influence. The crew realized the truth slowly. This presence was not a creature. It was a force that shaped reality itself. It had erased civilizations not out of anger, but because they did not belong. They fought it. They feared it. They ran from it. Humans did none of these. The warship adjusted course again, moving closer to the source of distortion. Observers across the galaxy gasped. The ship was approaching the heart of forbidden space. This was where fleets had vanished. Where legends ended, the presence reacted at last. Space around the ship folded inward. Pressure increased sharply, systems strained. Human technology responded instantly, not by adding force, but by copying the behavior. Fields reshaped. Energy flows mirrored the distortion. The ship remained intact inside the warship. Crew members saw visions on their displays. Not images sent intentionally, but impressions. They saw fragments of lost civilizations. Ships drifting without time, cities frozen mid-moment. The presence was not a killer. It was a filter. It removed those who could not adapt. The captain understood the danger clearly now. This force tested every species the same way. And humans were passing. The presence pressed harder. Reality bent further. Time stretched. Human systems evolved again. Algorithms rewrote themselves. Shields became flexible. Sensors learned new rules. The ship was changing. Across the galaxy, fear turned into disbelief. The human warship was not just surviving. It was learning faster than the threat could escalate. Ancient observers remembered old prophecies. Stories of a species that would walk where others vanished, not because they were strongest, but because they refused to stay the same. Forbidden space seemed confused. It had erased empires, but this ship stayed. The presence pulled back slightly, not retreating, but reassessing. The crew felt the pressure ease, just a little. They had crossed another line. The captain ordered the ship to hold position, not to challenge, not to flee, to exist. This was the most dangerous choice of all. The presence circled the warship. Invisible, massive. It searched for weakness. Fear, aggression. It found discipline. Curiosity, adaptation. The truth became clear. Forbidden space was not guarding a monster. It was guarding a lesson. Only those who could learn were allowed to stay. As the warship held steady, the presence reacted in a new way. Not with pressure, but with silence. For the first time in ages, forbidden space stopped testing and began watching across the galaxy. Every observer felt it. Something ancient had acknowledged humans. Not as prey, not as intruders, but as participants. The warship transmitted a simple update. Core region stable. No hostile response. Those words changed everything. Because the galaxy now understood the truth. Whatever lived in forbidden space, humans were not afraid of it. And it was no longer sure what to do with them. The presence did not leave. It stayed close to the human warship, watching every movement, every adjustment. Forbidden space felt quieter now. Not calm, but focused inside the warship. The crew understood the shift. This was no longer a test of survival. It was a test of response. Most civilizations reacted to danger the same way. They attacked or they fled. Humans did something different. They observed. The captain ordered all weapons to remain offline. Not as a sign of weakness, but as a choice. The presence reacted immediately. The pressure on the ship changed direction. Less force, more depth. It was no longer trying to crush the ship. It was trying to understand it. Crew members shared data calmly. Engineers adjusted systems in real time. Scientists studied how reality behaved here. They did not fight forbidden space. They learned from it, across the galaxy. Observers could not understand what they were seeing. Human systems kept changing, not randomly, but intelligently. Where other species built rigid technology, humans built flexible systems. That was the difference. The presence pushed again. Not harder, but smarter. Time slowed further. Distances twisted. Thought itself felt heavier. Some crew members felt fear rise, but discipline held. Humans had faced worse, uncertain worlds, unknown enemies, silent space. Fear was familiar. The warship adapted again. Internal clocks resonanced, energy fields reshaped. Crew movements adjusted naturally. The ship was no longer just surviving. It was integrating. The presence paused. This had never happened before. Ancient civilizations had reached this stage and failed. They clung to old designs, old thinking. Humans let go. Inside the presence, something shifted. Not emotion, but calculation. Forbidden space had always removed threats by erasing them. But humans were not behaving like threats. They were behaving like students. The presence sent a new pressure, focused directly on the crew. Not the ship. Memories surfaced, old fears, old failures. Human minds wavered, then steadied. They had lived with pressure their entire history. On harsh worlds, in fragile bodies, adaptation was instinct. The presence searched for surrender. It found resilience across the galaxy. Ancient observers began to whisper a dangerous idea. What if humans were meant for this place? The warship sent no challenge, no demand. It simply stayed. The presence responded with something new. Access, energy patterns opened briefly, not wide, just enough. Human sensors captured information no one had ever seen. The structure of forbidden space, the logic behind the erasures, the rules that decided who stayed and who vanished. Humans were learning the language of reality itself. The presence watched closely, ready to end it if necessary. But the moment never came. Instead, forbidden space stabilized further. The chaos softened. The distortions became predictable. The presence had made a decision. Humans were not to be erased. They were to be measured. The captain spoke quietly to the crew. This place is not our enemy. The ship adjusted course slightly. Not deeper, not away. Balanced. That balance mattered. The presence mirrored it, reducing pressure, allowing time to flow more smoothly. Across the galaxy, panic gave way to disbelief. Forbidden space was no longer reacting violently. It was cooperating. This changed everything. Ancient empires realized the truth too late. Humans were not conquering forbidden space. They were becoming part of its system. The presence sent one final test. A sudden spike in distortion, sharp and fast. Human systems responded instantly, not with force, but with adjustment. The spike passed, the presence withdrew slightly. Not defeated, but convinced. The warship remained intact, stable, accepted. For the first time in galactic history, forbidden space did not reject a visitor. It acknowledged one. And that terrified the galaxy more than destruction ever could, because now everyone understood. Humans were different, not because they were fearless, but because they changed faster than fear. As the warship held position, the presence settled into silence, waiting to see what humans would do next. Forbidden space no longer felt hostile. It felt aware. The human warship held its position calmly. Engines steady, systems balanced, crew focused. Across the galaxy, every major civilization watched in silence. No one spoke, no one moved fleets, no one interrupted. This was a moment history would not forget. The presence remained close. Not pressing, not testing, just observing. For the first time in its long existence, forbidden space had not erased a visitor. It had accepted one. Inside the warship, the captain understood the weight of the moment. Any wrong move could change everything. Humans had learned enough to know one truth. Power was not about force here. It was about balance. The crew began transmitting carefully. Not commands, not demands information. They shared how their systems adapted, how they changed instead of resisted, how they listened to the environment. The presence reacted slowly. Energy patterns aligned, distortion softened. Forbidden space responded to understanding. Across the galaxy, ancient observers felt fear turn into awe. Civilizations older than humanity had failed here, not because they were weak, but because they were rigid. Humans were not rigid. The presence reached deeper into the warship systems. Not invading, but sinking. Human technology absorbed the patterns. Learning the structure of forbidden space. Mapping rules no one had ever seen. This knowledge was dangerous. But humans treated it with care. That restraint mattered. The presence tested one final time. A wave of distortion moved toward the warship. Strong, sudden, the galaxy braced for destruction. Human systems reacted instantly. Not by overpowering the wave, but by reshaping around it. The wave passed, the ship remained. Silence followed, then forbidden space changed. The darkness eased, the distortion stabilized. The environment became predictable. The presence pulled back, not in defeat, but in recognition. Humans had passed the final test. Across the galaxy, panic faded into realization. The balance of power had shifted. Humans had entered the one place no one else dared, and returned understanding instead of fear. The warship transmitted a final message. Clear and calm. Forbidden space is stable. No hostile force detected. Adaptation successful. Those words echoed through every council chamber, every command center, every ancient archive. The galaxy held its breath, because everyone understood what came next. If humans could survive forbidden space, they could survive anything. The presence lingered at the edge of perception. Watching, learning, it had erased empires. But humans had changed the rules. Forbidden space was no longer just a boundary. It was a bridge. The warship turned slowly. Engines humming softly. It did not flee. It did not rush. It exited forbidden space with the same calm it entered. When the ship reappeared in known space, no damage was detected, no systems lost. The galaxy reacted instantly. Shock, fear, respect. Ancient civilizations updated their records. Forbidden space was no longer forbidden. It was human-touched. The captain looked out across the stars, knowing this was only the beginning. Humans had not conquered the galaxy. They had earned its attention. The presence faded into the depths of forbidden space, not gone, but watching, waiting to see how humans would use what they had learned. The galaxy would never forget this moment. Not when a warship appeared. But when the universe realized something important, humans were not the strongest. They were not the oldest. They were the ones who adapted. And when the galaxy held its breath, humans moved forward anyway.